I get lonely, especially Sundays. I get really
yes.
lonely on Sunday. I mean, are you seeing the similar things?
Yeah, we get sadly, COVID was the peak worst of it, but we see isolation a lot. Going back to the memory impairment, there has been links of people in the early stages of memory impairment, isolating themselves because they're worried they're going to show this new deficit out to people in their lives. So they isolate, it gets worse. People without memory impairment, they might not have the means to go out anymore. You see it a lot. And the isolation then leads to depression. And depression can go hand in hand with other illnesses too.
The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
Hello, West Michigan. This is Grand Tap Media Business TV. My name is Pamela Keim, your host. The spirit of the show is to introduce West Michigan to all the businesses, nonprofits, individuals that can help us thrive in our lives. And we have a very special guest, as always, today. And we want to share and highlight this person because she's a little young, and she is also an RN. And when she started her career, she started working, and then she finally realized what her passion was. And today she is going to share what her passion is and why she started a business. And we hope that this information will help maybe people out there that are looking for help in their elderly field, or somebody that is starting a business and say, you know what, I have a passion for that too. So I want to welcome to the show emmaclark. She is the owner or CEO or founder of Sable Home Care.
Hi.
Hello,
Thank
Emma.
you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And I heard so much about you because you are quite the buzz because of how you started your company and what the passion you have. And being an RN is always very helpful when in the field that you're in, so people can kind of ask you questions they would never ask me if I was in this field of work, right? All right, so I want you to share with West Michigan who you are and how you got this started and what you want West Michigan to know about Sable Health Home Care. There you go.
A little tongue twist.
I was thinking of two different things in my head, but sometimes that happens.
It's okay, it's a tongue twister. Sable Home Care. And I want to preface, Sable Home Care, the name, I have to give my brother thanks for that. My brother was the one that helped me name it. I didn't come up with it myself, so thank you to my brother.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. A little bit about Sable Home Care. My name is Emma. As Pamela has said, I am the owner of Sable Home Care. What we do is non-medical home care for the elderly in the Grand Rapids area.
Okay.
What that means is we have caregivers that work for us. We would send the caregiver into the home, and they would do the care in the home. That can be helping with bathing. They can do errands, light housekeeping, making meals, basic companionship. We've done outings to Grand Haven, to Talbot's, to Meyer Gardens. We can pretty much help with anything at home that the client needs help with.
Okay, so that's one of the reasons I want you on, because the aging, I guess the aging is growing. How do they say that? It's that whole field of the aging home care because the population is exploding at this time. It's pretty much the baby boomers coming to age, right? And then you were an RN, and the reason I wanted you on the show is because you're young, and then you started to realize what your passion was. But we were sharing before we even started interviewing. It's like you said, this goes way back when you were younger. You started to realize you had a passion for the aging, right?
Yes.
So kind of share with that and how you got out, and you said you started working right away into the field that you kind of love. So can you share a little bit about how that happened?
Yeah. So when I was young, my grandma was actually in a nursing home.
Okay.
Even before I was born. So my pastime when I was little was hosting bingo at the retirement home up north, and I absolutely loved it. So as a 6-year-old, I would always say, I'm going to work in a nursing home. I'm going to work in a nursing home. And, that want went away when I was a little teenager, but when I went back to nursing school, I fell in love with it. So even when I was 18 and on, I've absolutely loved geriatric care. And I actually ended up working in a nursing home like my 6-year-old self predicted.
Right.
And the best part though is that one-on-one care. Knowing the residents, getting to know them, their family, their life, that's my favorite part. And working in a facility, you don't get that as much. So that's where I found home care.
Okay, so then you started Sable home care. Mm-hmm. All right, and it's been for a few years.
2 years this past Saturday.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
It's
we just
gonna be-
celebrated our anniversary.
Okay, so there's a big jump for being an RN and working, because you could have found a
yes.
position somewhere, which you probably did, but you could have stayed in that and grew in that field. But
Yes.
what did you start to notice when you started working with the aging, that you said, you know what, I think there needs to be, a business that can meet the needs of the seniors out there?
I feel like every senior I've met always has said they wish they could have lived and continued to live at home.
Okay.
I've heard that from a lot of people, so home care has always been in the back of my mind. There's so many great other home care agencies in Grand Rapids that I knew of as well, and I just fell in love with that model. My dad and I, when I was first starting nursing school, always talked about starting a home care company. Just
Okay.
that one-on-one connection with them, being able to spend the time to get to know them, that was my biggest drive. I want to feel like what I'm doing is giving a lot of value to them, and they're giving me value back by me getting to know everything about them.
Well, and I know that it's growing, and I bet we both shared that I was in the aging
Yeah.
network for like 17 years, and it was client services, so I was dealing with that. And one thing I dealt with was the stress of taking care of, maybe there's some people out here today that's taking care of an elderly parent, an aunt that maybe has nobody that lives in town. Now, how many people rely on a family member that lives in town because everybody else has moved all over the country, and they're taking care of that? And what that done, and what I noticed when I used to talk to them on the phone, it's like, look, I take my mom to the doctors, and it's like an all-day thing. Because then she wants to go to the grocery store, and then she got to go back to her home. Are you being fed, mom or dad, right?
Yeah.
You have something to eat. So they're missing sometimes 4 hours out of their day, 4 or 5 hours out of their day. And it's a whole process to even get them prepared to go to the doctor, right? When they get to the house and, you go, Mom, do you have this, whatever. So share with us that what I only heard on the phone, the stress that families were under trying to take care of an elderly parent or a grandma. And, or maybe like everybody else is older and you're the youngest of everybody and you're taking care of multiple people in your family that's elderly. And you're like, they were so stressed out.
The burnout is something that I don't feel like a lot of people talk about, but burnout is real, especially for families. Number one, the dynamic, the relationship change between having the parent and the child now taking care of the parent is very hard. It's a huge change. The guilt, a lot of the children feel like they have guilt if they're not doing everything for their parent, and then they get burned out, but then they feel mad at themselves for feeling burnt out, but it's hard.
It's hard.
On top of your life, you're being a caregiver. A lot of the time you're also raising your own kids, and you're working, and you're trying to balance your personal life. It's hard. And so we deal with a lot of families that are going through that burnout and wanting someone to step in a little bit, to give them a little bit of space, let them not be as burnt out anymore.
Well, and I think too, and as I was talking to you, as I'm getting older, but I've dealt with, both my parents have passed away and they both died at home, so we went through that whole process. And we were lucky that my siblings were still in town, but sometimes it is on one person. So what are you hearing when you go to have that, they come to you or you go to their home and have that interview kind of process? Okay, what is going on? What are you hearing most from, the caregivers? That, I just want a couple hours to go to the, to do something, you know what I'm saying? What are you hearing from them?
Everyone's different. We have clients that we go there to take them to the store so the family doesn't have to do the errands anymore. We have clients that we have to do the showering for, making meals. Every single one's different. What I do hear from the family and the clients is usually in the beginning, it's a transition. The family's getting used to this, taking a little step back, but allowing someone you just met, taking care of the people you care most about in your life is hard. But usually after that first 3-week period, we settle in and family can breathe a little bit. Speaking on the one family kind of taking over,
Right.
I see that all the time. I see it all the time. And I feel so bad because usually that one sibling or one child that takes over is always viewed by their parents as like the worst. Like they're telling me I have to go to the doctor and they telling me I have to take my pills and they're telling me this and this. But then Johnny out of state is amazing. He never does anything wrong, of course. But, and I see that all the time, and I'll hear the family, like, they're driving, like, my mom or dad is driving me crazy, and I'm just trying to help, but I'm the worst person ever to them.
I know. And
So I see that all the time.
now you deal with what is the most difficult thing in some of the elder is people that have Alzheimer's, has dementia, and they have the mood swings, which I dealt with on the phone, because I would be like, well, we had a meal for her and she was supposed to, and she would just say, nobody came. This is before you had, and nobody brought me food, whatever. We're all like, yes, we did. We are literally going in the trash. She ate it, but they didn't realize how severe her dementia was, and they get kind of paranoid that everybody's out to get. So how are you dealing, which is a growing problem with people starting, because the signs start to become early, and sometimes people don't see it. But yet you guys are trained them, like if they went to you and said, this is what's going on, it's like, well, this is some of the signs that it's not going to get any better.
It isn't. That's my specialty, is memory impairment. That is what I focus on. I've made a lot of educational videos on YouTube and TikTok about that, because that's my focus, is memory impairment. With Alzheimer's is only one of over 150 types of dementia. There's so much. Recent statistics from the Alzheimer's Association says the rate of Alzheimer's and dementia is increasing too. So we do see it a lot.
Why do you think that is?
There's so many possibilities of why it is. People are living longer now, so we're seeing that more. We're exposed to other things. Every single dementia, there's different causes for.
No, what do they call it? Different types of dementia?
Oh, it affects different parts. It affects different parts.
Because it's at a certain part of the brain?
So, for example, there is a dementia called vascular dementia, and that is caused by the vasculature in the brain not being able to oxygenate by bringing the blood up. So, because the brain's not getting as oxygenated, then you're seeing that memory impairment. We have Lewy body dementia.
That's a real popular one.
A Lewy body, Robin Williams.
Yes.
Lewy body dementia. That's another one. We have frontal lobe dementia, so that would be the location, so the frontal lobe is where it's getting affected. Some dementias do have a hereditary component, some don't.
Okay.
It's just all about where it affects. Alzheimer's is one of the most well-known ones. Alzheimer's is one of the most well-known.
So there's only one?
Alzheimer's is one of over 150 types of dementia.
Okay.
So if dementia is an umbrella, Alzheimer's is one underneath it.
Okay, good, because I always thought it was the opposite. It's been a while since I've been,
A lot of people do.
Yeah, they think Alzheimer's was the first, because that's what we heard about.
Yep,
most.
and then dementia is a type of Alzheimer's.
All these, okay, so then you have like 30, what are you up to now? You said about 30-something employees?
Over 35. Over 35 employees, over 50 clients, I believe.
Okay, and they're out throughout West Michigan?
Grand Rapids and surrounding areas. So we can go all the way up to like Cedar Springs, down to Lowell, Alto, Byron Center, Caledonia, Standale, Allendale. We have gone out to Allendale, Granville, Jenison, back up, Sparta.
Okay, and then now, is there any criteria? I mean, is there different fees for stuff? Like, what if somebody wanted to watch a movie, because loneliness is really, it's not diagnosed enough, or failure to thrive, and it could be, we used to just put that down when we couldn't figure out why the person wasn't doing well after being provided, and I think a lot of it was loneliness.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what can you do for that? Because I'm sure there's people that are talking to their mom, and maybe they live up in Cedar Springs and they live in Aide. Right? It's not a hop, skip, and a jump when you have children to get to there.
And a job.
And all I would ever hear from people is just, well, nobody comes to visit me, and nobody's, I get lonely, especially Sundays. I get really lonely on Sunday. I mean, are you seeing the similar things?
Yeah, we get sadly, COVID was the peak worst of it, but we see isolation a lot. Going back to the memory impairment, there has been links of people in the early stages of memory impairment, isolating themselves because they're worried they're going to show this new deficit out to people in their lives. So they isolate, it gets worse. People without memory impairment, they might not have the means to go out anymore. You see it a lot. And the isolation then leads to depression. And depression can go hand in hand with other illnesses too. We do have a lot of clients that we do basic companionship for. So watching TV, bringing them out to the store. We've had clients we've driven to Grand Haven to go and play on the beach. Go to Talbot's. That's a huge one. Talbot's is a big one.
That's
a huge one.
Store.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Talbot's is a big one.
For all you people that don't know what that is, I do know what it is, but I wasn't sure.
Everyone. That's where I've gone so much. First time I've ever gone to Talbot's was when I started this company, and pretty sure these pants are from Talbot's. I've gone there so much since. But
So
yes, we
how
do
much
that.
improvement have you seen in your services by just 3 hours? Maybe 3 times a week, you know, they don't need everyday care, but they
Yeah.
just need maybe 3 hours of somebody coming in that's going to, you know, be their friend.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You're
be a
gonna
friend.
Be your friend, and you talk and share stories and memories of things like. How much improvement you start seeing some of these clients that you're what?
I've seen across the board a lot. I've had clients call me crying after a few weeks, like, thank you so much. You don't realize how much this has helped me. I have had people so resistant in the beginning where it's more of like the children are like, Mom, Dad, we need someone in here. You need to have someone just to get to talk to. They might be resistant in the beginning, but by the end, love their caregiver.
Right.
Love them calling me, talking about how much they love them and how much meaning these people have brought in their lives. We become their family. They become their family.
Yeah.
We have a running joke in the office that one of my supervisors can just ask me a random question about any client. I can tell them. So I know that my clients like the back of my hand. I know what foods they like, their favorite colors, clothes they like.
Yeah.
Because they become family to me and our
That
caregivers.
is true. And do you have like an age where they have to be, or is it could be somebody that's maybe suffering from, you know, maybe a stroke or something at 45?
Yeah.
What is there any?
We don't have a cutoff. We think everyone deserves care and everyone can get care.
Okay.
The only reason we would say that we can't do home care is if it starts leaning into more medical needs. So if they need more than a one assist, if they use a lift, we can't do lifts. I'm a strong believer in any lift should be a 2-person use, like Sarah lifts and Hoyer lifts.
Right.
Those are the only times we've ever had to say no. But other than that, there's really.
And what is, like, if somebody out there was considering saying, you know what, be nice to, you know, do this for Mom or Dad, you know, or aunt, or maybe even their friends may be suffering through something. All right, so what is the general cost, like, would be?
Yeah. So I'm very transparent with our costs. I think I've never been someone to shield it. Our cost is $32 an hour.
Okay.
That is the base cost. That's for companionship or if you need senior assistance. It's all combined into one. That is called, we call it senior assistance. That is our basic cost at $32. But we have add-ons. So if someone has a advanced memory impairment, that is a $2 add-on, so it'd be $34 an hour. That's only for like very like later stage, moderate and
Right.
advanced dementia. Very beginning stages, which most of our clients who have memory care, it's usually earlier stages, we don't add that add-on of $2. We have short-term care, which is $35 an hour, so they only need care less than 2 months. So they're like waiting for an assisted living room to come available. We are just kind of in that between. And then we have hospice assistance as well. So we have clients on hospice. One of the myths of hospice is that hospice provides around-the-clock care. That isn't true. They are an amazing, amazing organization, but they're there maybe 5 hours a week, give or
Yeah,
take.
that's the thing I had the most realization when my parents were
Yeah.
dying. They both died, you know, 20 years apart. But either one, the first time I didn't know hospice like I did when I worked in the aging, but I thought they were going to come and relieve us.
Yeah.
And they don't.
And they don't.
They don't. They come and they only check, you know, they come, like you said, it's only like 5 hours a week. So
Yeah.
isn't it, so I was just like, oh, but by the time my dad was in the dying process, then I was timing it because I really needed hospice just for the changing because
Yeah.
he was totally bedridden when he passed away. So I was timing this so they would help because they're pros. They just get
Yeah.
it done and
That
we
in
were
and
like,
out, yeah.
we're just, because that's when you're dealing with somebody that is in that process, or they're dead weight. I hate to say it, but they're just so heavy. Even
Yes.
though they don't weigh a lot.
Yes.
They're just so heavy.
And there's proper techniques that I've learned in nursing school and in my training, but a lot of family don't know because they're not getting professional training for it. They can then hurt their back because they're trying to lift their parent up. It's with not bending their knees. They're using their back to lift them. They hurt their back. They're not
Exactly.
turning them correctly. And, we've seen even the clients get hurt too. So that's why we offer hospice assistance, is we can come in and kind of take that off the family's plate too.
Yeah,
and give them the help.
if you're a male and you're dealing with your mom, there's certain things that maybe you don't, she's uncomfortable with, you're uncomfortable. I saw that too.
Oh, yes. Even the opposite, like a father and the daughter doing care. You see the opposite with that too, where they're like, you're not showering me.
And they don't want their children to be doing.
No,
Their
and the children,
parents,
a lot
you
of the children
know?
don't want it either, but I would say most of the children I've met are just so amazing.
They are.
And they'll do anything for their parent. And it's hard on the parent. They don't want their child to have to do that. But honestly, I don't hear families really complain. They're just great.
Well, my husband did that with, they had a care similar
Yeah.
to your company, come in, this was years ago, and it was such a relief, because we always knew that Tuesdays, Thursdays, do you know what I'm saying? But she would even go further and take her to wherever she was going, like on the weekend. Oh, we're just going to do this fish fry. You can come with us. This is during, and she was all excited. It was very nice to know that she had something to look forward to seeing when we're gone, because there's no way we could stay with her all the time, because we both worked, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And she was looking forward, and it was such a relief to us to know that she was there, that person was there on that night, like Thursday night. It's like, okay, she's coming, Julie's coming, she'll be okay, and we can, go do something else.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of having to step in. All right, what can you share with me what people don't know about home, that might be out there saying, like misconceptions about you coming in and taking? Is there anything that, people don't have any idea?
I feel like home care is kind of more niche. It's for sure getting bigger now. A lot of people, when they are talking about home care, they think insurance can pay for it. That's a big misconception. With non-medical home care, medical insurance does not cover it, unless some companies can take long-term care insurance.
Okay.
We can. Long-term care insurance is a policy on an additional policy. It is not your medical insurance. I would say the silent generation, a lot of them have long-term care insurance with amazing policies, but the insurance companies quickly realized that they were losing a good amount of money with long-term care insurance, so their policies changed. And not a lot of
I don't
people,
even know if they offer it anymore, do
they're
they?
not the greatest policies. A lot of
Yeah.
them, I've seen a few that will pay like 3 hours a day for home care, but that's the max. When it used to be, they'll pay $10,000 a month for any care needs. So it's very
Well,
different
you can
now.
see where that could be very costly
Oh,
for an
yes.
insurance company.
And people living longer. I think that's where we live longer now.
Right, you do live longer. And you do accept, we did talk before the interview, Medicaid waiver.
Yep, Medicaid
and
waiver.
then the, what do you call it, the
Senior millage. Yes.
We all see that on our tax bill or whatever, the senior millage part of it, our taxes. And they would call what? You would handle all of that, or would they have to call somebody for that, or what?
Yeah, so in Grand Rapids area, if Medicaid waiver is not just Medicaid, it's Medicaid waiver, you need to apply for it to see if you qualify. Medicaid waiver helps pay for home care options. I think they cover also, and don't quote me on it, I believe some assisted living as well. You have to make a certain amount of money. If you make too much, you don't qualify for it.
Right.
So the two places in Grand Rapids you can contact to see if you qualify for Medicaid waiver is Reliance, and then AAAWM.
Yeah, that's what is it? Area aging, area.
See, that's why I
aging.
never say it, because I trip up.
Yeah. And I used to be able to, guys used to
Area
steer the
Agency of Aging of Western Michigan.
Yeah, I used to share a building with these people, but
Yeah.
it's been 20
It's
you
a
know,
tongue
20
twister.
years since I did that. You know what I mean? But yes, that would be your first contact.
You contact either one.
Right.
We only have a contract with Reliance, so if you're interested in Sable Home Care, doing care, then you would go through Reliance.
Well, even to look and see if it would be something that would be working on that. So
They see if you qualify, yeah.
So what's the? I didn't even ask you some of these questions I had in here, but what is
That's
the?
okay.
Now that you're an entrepreneur, which is a lot of moving parts.
Oh, yes.
And your passion for the elderly and the aging, getting them the home care or whatever. But what is your favorite part of your job?
I guess the easiest answer, my clients, I love them so much.
Yeah.
I when I was younger, was scared I wouldn't find a passion. I was scared I wouldn't find a purpose. And
You look for that when you become
you
an
always
RN
when
or
you're
a doctor.
yeah,
What do
when
I
you're
wanna
younger.
do? Yeah.
And I am beyond grateful to find my clients. I've never felt just like more of a purpose in my life. I tell them all the time, like, you're helping me as much as I'm helping you.
Yeah.
It just makes my heart full. My clients are absolutely amazing. The stories I've heard, the funny things I've been told, especially my memory care clients that have told me a lot of funny things.
Well, the one thing I did learn, the same kind of conversation over and over with male and female,
Yeah.
is enjoy your life.
Enjoy it.
Don't hold back, the regrets that they have, right? Don't hold back. Don't listen. It's nice to listen to advice. You have to listen to some wisdom, But like you starting this, I'm sure you got people are like, why would you want to do that? This is a lot of problems. You can, you're like, yeah, but your dad's an entrepreneur. Your dad's an entrepreneur. And I think that really helps to be around that conversation all the time around the dinner table. That's why you like doctors, oh, my grandfather's a doctor. You know what I mean? You start to hear those common words in your family and whatever. And I think that does help a little bit to have somebody that's an entrepreneur. Your brother's is an entrepreneur too?
Yep. My younger brother started his company before me, and he was the one that inspired me to start my own. So I do think being surrounded by individuals who own businesses has been beneficial. I must say I was really lucky. My dad always was really good about keeping work at work.
Is that hard for you?
In the beginning, it was hard. The first 2 years, anyone that started a business, those first 2 years, it's hard to separate home from work sometimes.
Yes.
It's all mixed up. I'm on 24 hours a day. Even when I'm sleeping, I have to be ready to go. But my dad did always really good about separating that. So I would say it's more of seeing that drive and being raised with people with that business type drive is what inspired me to see that I can do that. And that's one of the things I always tell young individuals who think about being an entrepreneur. Do it. Don't wait. Do it.
Well, you're quite the buzz in my entrepreneur world, and that's why we were connected to have you on my show. You just got to meet Emma. So is there anything, before we wrap it up here, because it's been a great interview, anything that we would like to say to West Michigan about? Anything that we haven't covered?
I would first like to just give a quick little thanks to all the caregivers, but most specifically my caregivers. Sable couldn't be without you. Without my caregivers, we would not be here. I'm forever grateful. That's my other favorite part of my job are my caregivers. I absolutely adore all of them.
Oh, you do. It's even though you pay them very well, but sometimes there's the little things you don't notice. Like they take care of the pet. They were only supposed to do the walk, and they took him to the park, and they took care of the animal along with the there's all these little. I know that because we'd have people drop off food, and they would check their mail. They would sweep the stoop. You know what I'm saying? They do that take the trash out on their way out. There's all these little things that you do and that people don't notice.
They're just so great, and we couldn't be here without them. They are the reason the company's going. I just want to say thanks if any of them are watching. And the last little bit is if anyone wants to know more about Sable Home Care, we do have a website, sablehomecare.com. You can also reach me at email at sablehomecare@gmail.com or my personal email, emmaclark@sablehomecare.com. We have TikTok, we have Facebook as well, Sable Home Care for those too. And that's how you can reach me.